Hey there, Todd from Bard Press. And in this video, I want to expand upon um, a blog post that I wrote recently where I asked readers to go to their shelves, their business bookshelves in particular, and look for how many books they own by Black business book authors. As someone who has several shelves in their home dedicated to business books, as someone who has spent the last 17 years working in this category, uh, even I could only find two or three books, and um, I think that's sad. I think that when you contrast that with what we see going on in society right now, as I record this in June 2020, Black authors are dominating the bestseller list. Um, but they're dominating with books around the current issues that we're dealing with around racial inequity, around anti-racism. Um, in the business space, we're not seeing that. I haven't seen a Black author on the bestseller list in 2 months. And before that, it was probably 2 months prior to that, and they were on the list for a single week. So I think if we there's certainly difficulty trying to figure out how we get more uh, Black authors published in the business book space. Um, I think if you look at the number of Black CEOs, which right now number at 4 out of the Fortune 500 companies, um, that in business books, what's really important to us is that we want to trust the advice that we're getting from people. So we want people who have done big things, who've worked for big companies, um, and if that's what the distribution looks like at the largest companies in the world, then we're probably going to have a difficult time finding authors in the business book base itself. Um, the reason I decided to make this video was I was really encouraged by the conversations that got created out of the post that I wrote. A number of people reached out to me. They appreciated me writing the post and talking about this particular topic at this particular time in this really particular space. It was a lot of people who work in book publishing, in particular in business book publishing. And what I loved was that there was a group among them who directed me to um, other authors that I should know about that I may have missed. I said in the post that I wrote that I started searching for books. I started searching for business books written by Black authors, and I could not find that many. Even, I think the number I came up with was maybe 20, 25 books total that I could find. And I bought every single one of them. And I had to be very open in my definition of what a business book was. I ended up with a lot of books in self-help, a lot of books in biography, and then there were some books in the business space, but maybe represented a third of those books. So again, we're talking about 7, 8, 9, 10 titles. So what I love is the fact that I've got 3 titles that I'd love to share with you in this video that were books that I found that other people directed me to after writing that post, and I'm hoping you'll check them out. So the first book I want to mention is a book called Learning to Lead by Ron Williams. Ron is the former CEO of Aetna. He took the company from when he joined, it was losing $300 million a year, to he turned it to a company that was making $2 billion a year in profit. It's just a really great book on leading. It kind of, he's divided the book into leading yourself, leading a team, and leading a large organization. And I think that's a good structure. It's a good progression. It talks about how you move through your career, and that there's different kinds of leadership that you need to exhibit as you have different kinds of experiences and different levels of responsibility, frankly. I think for Ron in particular, I just love him writing a book like that. He says he's the most unlikely person to have run a $32 billion organization. And so I think when I say that it's difficult for that community to be able to write books, because a lot of people don't have those experiences that we want in business books. Ron is exactly the kind of person to be able to do that, and I'm really glad that he did. All three of these are actually leadership books. This is The 7 Secrets of Responsive Leadership by Jackie Jenkins Scott. She ran both a healthcare center and a college in Boston. And I also like her advice. What she does is the best advice that she gives, which I thought was really good and kind of unexpected, and maybe from a different perspective than you normally see from typical white male leadership books written by white males, is one of her pieces of advice is keep your bags packed. And she means that in a really particular way. What she says is that make sure you're working for organizations that match their values, that their values match your own, and that you can impact those. But more importantly, that if they don't, or if you can no longer have the kind of impact that you want to at that organization, that be prepared to go someplace else where you can. And I think that's not something we see show up very often in business books. That sometimes maybe the organization that we're at may not match the kind of person who we are or where we can have the biggest impact. So I think that's a really great piece of advice from 7 Secrets. The other book, which I knew and I've forgotten, but I'm glad I got reintroduced to, was Love Leadership by John Hope Bryant. And I think what I love about this book is he was writing about vulnerability. I don't want to say before Brene Brown, but certainly on the front end of her work. He talks about leadership in a very grounded way around love and vulnerability and connection. I think it's, again, a kind of leadership that I think matches to a particular experience and perspective that I think we benefit from listening to and hearing from Black authors. It feels different. It sounds different. I think there's something that we can learn from there when we listen to Bryant's experiences. So I love the fact that all three of those books kind of came to me. So I love that all three of these books sort of came to me after I wrote that post. I'm hoping if there's more of you that see this, I'll link to the post below. I hope you'll direct me to more books that fit into this space of the opportunity for us to hear from Black authors, in particular in the business book space. The last thing I'll say is it's the same thing I said in the post very briefly. I think there's more to be done in this, and I'm continuing to think about what ability in particular I can have on improving representation in this particular category. So expect to hear more both on this topic. I'm hoping I can highlight more authors for you to check out and read, but here are 3 books that you can check out in the leadership space. Leadership is both evergreen and it applies to all of this, and I hope you'll check out one of these books as one that can help you on your leadership journey.